Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Express, which is becoming everyone's favorite talk show. It is profoundly real and interesting, so without any further delay, please help me welcome back to the stage the beautiful and expressive director of Express, Carolyn. Carolyn, take it away.
Good day, everyone. This is your show, Express, and your host, Carolyn. Welcome again. It Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. For those who have been coming, we thank you so much. I'm sure you've been doing that. But for those who have just stopped by today, remember, share, like, and subscribe so you won't miss out from all the content of our episodes. Today, I have a special couple. A special couple is Mr. and Mrs. Gordon. The husband's name is Castanar, and his wife's name is Carleen. So that's Castanar and Carleen Gordon. Before they come out to the stage, I will read their bio. And I'll start with Carleen first. Carleen Gordon is a very involved in church activities and has served as communication director, Sabbath school teacher, and youth choir director. However, she is truly the consummate wife and mother for whose family is everything. Carleen loves to cook and is extremely creative in the kitchen. She enjoys her fair share of community involvement and was instrumental in tutoring unattached youth over the years. She extends herself constantly to assisting high school and college students with assignments, homeworks, and various projects, as well as teaching English language. Her training in mass communication has been brought to bear on the numerous tasks she has taken over the years. She is very detailed orientated and runs the family business with her husband. I will now tell you more about Castanar. Castanar Garden is called Cass for short by everyone who knows him. He is consummate family man and community worker. For years, he has championed the cause of the voiceless and overlooked in society. Through his leadership, he has motivated citizens to pool their personal resources to fix community roadways, install lights, poles, and beautify their neighborhood. His most recent community activist has seen him become Jamaican's most known spokesman against the dumping of bauxite waste in the Rio Cobar. Through this advocacy, he has found and chaired the watchdog organization Friends of the Rio Kobe. Additionally, a vice chairman of the St. Catherine Parish Development Committee. He actively agitates for the advancement of the parish of St. Catherine. Mr. Gordon has a deep love for the youth and has always sought for opportunity to advance the welfare of the youth people of the Spanish Town Seventh-day Adventist Church, where he is an active member, and the wider community. He has served as assistant coordinator for the Spanish Town Skill Training Center and currently retains a position on its board. Mr. Gordon is married to Carleen, as we said before, to whom he is totally devoted. They are proud parents of three girls. Even after 32 years of marriage, Mr. Gordon, being the forever optimist, still savors the thought for fathering a son. He enjoys working on his 12-acre farm where coconut, bananas, and plantains are the main crops. He loves entrepreneurship and also is managing the managing director of the company, Solar Center Stage, which is owned and operated by himself and his wife. You know, I've often said when I get buyers like these, I try not to add, I try not to take away. Because I always think about sometimes, and this might sound, it's not morbid, I'm just being positive here. Sometimes you go to funerals, and that's when you're really knowing the people. I don't like that at all. I like to enjoy people while they're alive. I like to give them their flowers while they're alive. So by reading the bio, that's giving their flowers, and you can know more about them. Now you're going to know more about them. So, Mr. and Mrs. Gordon, come out to the studio.
All right.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for coming and thank you so much for being here. This is, I know you're busy, so this is a precious moment. Let's move on. Yes, yes, yes. How is the day going in Jamaica there right now? What's the weather like?
Well, today has been overcast and we are getting some rain, whi-
Wow.
which we all need very much. The place
Yes.
has been quite dusty for several months, and we're getting a lot of complaints about um, plant life diminishing and production going down all over the country as a result of the drought that we're having for quite a few months. But it has seemed to be
Mhm.
um, broken now, and we're giving God thanks.
Great, great. And the animals need it, right?
Indeed,
Definitely.
Yes, yes, yes.
especially
Right.
the two-foot ones,
Especially,
the 2 foot animal, the
I
two-footed
know.
animal. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we are going to, what I'm going to do is ask Miss
Mhm.
Colleen to just tell us about your life, where you're from, just work your way. I'll stop you if I need to, but just tell us where you were born, when you were born, and so forth. And then if I have to, then I will
All
intersect
right.
the conversation. Right.
Thanks again for having me on your show.
Yes.
Express, you call it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I like to call myself a country girl who grew up in the country, in the house, in the country.
Okay.
Because if you were to ask me questions about country life and what pertains on a farm, though I grew up on a farm, I really would know much to tell you.
Yes.
So I grew up in Treadways. It's a small district, a couple miles out of Linstead. And
Yes.
you have already told your viewers that we're talking about Jamaica.
Right.
Um, I grew up with two cousins of mine, and I enjoyed my childhood. I attended St. Jago High,
Okay.
and our church, the Palm Seventh Day Adventist Church, which is a part of the community. They are very involved in the life of the community members, whether they are members or not. But
Hmm.
the church really plays a pivotal role in the life of the community. So I enjoyed my church life,
Right.
and everything emanated from that. We would have events to which the community would be invited. Of course, we would have our beach outings or camping or pathfinder activities and all of that. Um, and back in those days, you had several churches that
Okay.
were a part of what we called a circuit of churches. So there was that kind of interaction for us as young people who were always meeting and going out with the young people of the other congregations. So we had fun.
Now I see why you're sitting beside the man you're sitting beside. because he's also community orientated, but we'll get to that soon. So go ahead now.
So after high school, um, I went into employment very soon after. Before that, however, there were 2 years that I had attended. I don't know how many people know of the Duff's Business College. It was the place to be at
Mm,
that time. You know, many persons fresh out of high school, just before entering the work world, would be oriented in the business world from Duff's. So
mm.
that's where I went, and that's where we met.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And tell me a little about your parents.
My parents, my mother was Cuban. They're both deceased, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Cuban, Jamaican father. My dad had traveled to Cuba, and that's where he met my mom. Married her there, brought her back to Jamaica.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay. Of
yeah.
your parents, how?
Interestingly, she has a brother
Yes.
who was born in Jamaica prior to her.
Meeting your
Right,
father.
exactly.
Oh,
Her mother is Jamaican,
okay.
had a son here, and then went to Cuba. So when she met this Jamaican man, knowing of her connections to Jamaica, she really felt no fear. As a matter of fact, she said that she wanted to come to Jamaica because
Mm,
it presented this opportunity to meet this brother, half brother that she never knew.
okay. Okay. Now, of your parents, which disposition or you know, which of your parents' disposition would you take a combination of their disposition, how their
I
their
think
temperament? Tell me more about that.
I think I more mirror my mother.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, people who knew my dad, when they met my husband, they thought that he was so much like my father. It was uncanny. The
Yeah.
fact that they thought that, boy, I went searching for somebody who was so much like my
Like your
dad.
father. Subconsciously, we do, you know.
Maybe, yes.
Yes, we do. Because you know the daughter's always very close to their daddies,
I
and
was.
I think there's something there. There's something there. All right, so good. So you said you went to college, business school, right? Dove Business College, right?
Yes, definitely. It was later on, many years after I got married and started having children, that I went back to school. And that's when I went to NCU, Northern Caribbean University,
Mm-hmm.
and was trained in mass communication with an emphasis in public
Okay.
relations.
Okay, okay. I see now. So by this now, did you meet your husband? You said you met him. You met him first at Dove.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, but did the friendship start then?
We actually saw each other
Okay.
prior to my going to Duff's.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of sort of getting to know you, that happened while we, again, just happened to be students together at
Okay.
Duff's.
Okay.
Um, Many of us as church people end up meeting our mates, our partners for life at
Mhm.
church. And this is how it
It's
was
true.
for us too.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He was a part of a singing group,
Yes.
and they were planning a series of events, a series of concerts in the
Mm-hmm.
Linstead area. That's the town nearest to my small district. So they took the opportunity to go around to the churches in the area to invite people, inform them of the dates of these concerts, and invite us.
Okay.
So I heard about this concert on one such visit. He came along with the group members, participated in our service, did a song, invited us to the concert, and left. And that was it.
And that's another connection with him.
Right.
Right.
So we attended the concert, and he was singing bass. I'm always fascinated with a bass voice.
Okay.
So I wanted to meet this bass singer, and that's how we met.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, so we're stopping off with you now, singing, meeting him when he came to sing at the church or wherever you were, where he sang. So let's go now to to Cass. Tell me, just as she did, where you were born, your parents, and you're gonna get to the point now where you're singing.
Okay. I was born in Connors District, St. Catherine, and I lived with my mother and father until I was about 6.5 years old. I went to Clarendon Moors to live with my grandfather, who was a very active member of the Seventh day Adventists, a very active and serious, deadly member of the Seventh day Adventist Church.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about in those times, they don't cook on a Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, I mean, that even plate they don't wash sometimes. They have to wait until in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just to show you how serious he was. And I went, I moved between my mother and my between my parents and my grandfather for some time. But I realized after a while that I seemed to prefer to be with my grandfather. Um, Simply being that I had started to fall in love with the Seventh day Adventist Church. And I remember one holiday I went to live with my mother, to stay with my mother, and they were building a reservoir in the community to carry water into the community. And she got part of the work, and I used to go to work for her. And when it came to the weekend, I said, "Mama, I'm not going to work on Saturday now." And she said, "What you say, boy?" And I said, "No, I'm not going." And then Saturday morning, she got up and she prepared my breakfast, and she said, "All right, go on to work." And I said, "No, Mama, I'm not going anywhere. I told her that I wanted to go to church today. I'm not going. I'm not going." And my mother was so furious. She chased me for several hours in the community, right? I was in and out of people's backyard. She
Oh,
was
keep it real. Keep it real.
she was she was young then, right? And
Yeah.
it was hard to elude her, you know. And
She kept up with you, right?
yes, eventually catch up with me.
And I bet
And
she wasn't just catching up with you like that. She was really angry too.
yes, and she gave me a whipping and said that I must go and go work.
Yeah.
And I say all right, and I went on the work site, and I sat down and I did nothing for the entire day. And the supervisor, they were so upset, but I sat down there and I just watched them work all Saturday. And
Wow.
then I went back home, and I took the decision then that I would never go back to live with my mother because of that experience. I enjoyed being with my grandfather. We lived in New Longsville. The church was in Moors, and we had to cross the Raya Minnow to go to church. And sometimes before day, when we used to have week of prayer,
Mm-hmm.
we used to come down here, had a donkey named the donkey named Sasa.
You had a name for the dog.
So when when it came down to the river, there was no
You know,
place.
one moment, sir. I wonder under what was the history beside that name?
You
They
know,
know
I
Jamaicans
never,
give name, boy. They have a reason for that.
yes,
Yes, yes,
I don't
definitely.
know. But when we came down to the river, he would ride on Sasa while I walk beside him. And when we're going across the river, I had to take off my clothes.
Uh-huh.
Right? As a boy, then the water would, and you hold up your clothes in the air, and the water would catch you up under your arm,
Uh-huh.
right? And you go to church sometimes when you go down there, the river would be in spades, so you can't even go. And that it was a back and forth. You know, you would sometimes be at church on Sabbaths and the river just come down because rain would fall in the hills, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, we come down. I remember one evening when the rain fell like that, and the entire church came down to the riverside to bid us farewell to go across the river. And I mean, and when we came down there, I had my grandfather ordered me to strip. I had to strip. I had to take out my pants, my underwear, and everything in front of all of the church. So you can imagine
Oh no.
all my little my friends and everybody was there just looking at me. I mean, I was so embarrassed, but you
Oh.
know that was fun for them. You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
those are some of the experiences that I had growing up. The picnics by the river and so on. I grew up to love the Seventh Day Adventist Church, and the Adventist Church is really a learning center. It, the way in which it transfers life skills to us as young people that made us entrenched. And wherever we were, you would stand out. If you, anyhow you are a Seventh Day Adventist young person, anywhere you go, and if you live up to the principle of Seventh Day Adventism, you always stand out in a positive way, right?
Mhm.
And after that, I went to Central High School, and I went back to there to do what you call the National Youth Service. I would work in the PE department to
Mhm.
assist with teaching its students physical education. And then I went to GC Foster Sports College, which is a school, a college donated by the Cuban government to the people, to the government and people of Jamaica. So there I became entrenched in sports. Coming from my community where I played cricket, I represented my my community in cricket. And as I went on to college, where I represented the college in football, in cricket also. While still going to church at the Spanish Town Seventh Day Adventist Church. As a matter of fact, if you were to go to the library of the college now, you would see a photograph of the team. I wasn't, I am not in that photograph because they were playing that final against Micro Teachers College, and I told them that I would not be playing. I played right through the matches, the round, and we won the round and we went through to the final. And I wouldn't play on the Saturday, and the captain was a guy who was representing Jamaica at that time in cricket. He was very upset with me, but I stood my ground and I didn't play. I didn't play. Um, so I knew that when I left college, I wouldn't find a job as a physical education teacher in any school because at that time most of the competitions
Mhm.
um, were done and run on Saturdays.
Mhm.
And no principal would employ you if you could not come and do that extracurricular activity on
Mhm.
weekends with your team. So I when I left GC first, I recognized that, and that was what motivated me to switch and to go on to Dove's Business College,
Mhm.
and
That's
where I
where
did
you met.
where I did business. And when I left there, um, I was working with T. Geddes Grant in New Kingston. I used to do audit for them because they Geddes Grant had several firms around Jamaica, and I would go as a part of the auditing team to do audit. They gave me a scholarship. I went to CAST at the time. It's now called University of Technology, and that's where I became I developed the love for marketing
Mhm.
and sales rather than accounts. I
Okay.
love accounts,
Mhm.
but I love um, to present a product in a package, understand it, and my thrill to see it being passed on to a satisfied customer.
Exactly. And what is so good about that? Because I can relate. You get up in the morning, and you don't know. The unpredictability about everything. You get up
Yes.
in the
Exactly.
morning and you go to work and you are solving problems, right?
Yes, yes, indeed.
But it's how many problems you solve that you get paid.
You know, it's interesting that you said that
Yes.
because that very unpredictability
Yes.
spurs some people on
Yes.
and runs others. So
Isn't
it
that
really is
something?
dependent, exactly, it's dependent on you, the individual. Some people would
Yes.
never ever chance a job that is unpredictable.
Amazing. When I
Yeah.
used to do real estate, and I've said this before, I get up in the morning and I don't know if I'm going to get a deal closed, if I'm going to
Right.
get a contract, but I know it's going to come. So I
Yes,
just work hard for it to
Mhm.
happen, you know? And it's like that with any sales. So I put my hat out for people who decide to choose sales as their occupation to make money. But the average person doesn't want to do that. And you can get the highest pay, all depends on what you do, how much you extend yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. All right. So we are going to keep talking now, Mr. Gordon Cass, on when you met Carlene. Get up to that point because we're going to be closing now soon, but just get us to the point where you did actually meet her. I think you started saying that, Carlene, you met him when you were singing.
yes.
You tell us
Grown,
your side of the story.
grown up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, you can't grow up as a child and you don't sing. And I remember at age 14, um, our no 12 plus thereabout, we were having a harvest at church. My grandfather had retired then, um, from active leadership in the church, and where he also sang bass. And they were practicing, and the young men on the choir could not get the note. My grandfather sat there and he said to the choir leader, "Hold on, tell them to sit down. Let me do the bass. Show them." And my grandfather went up, and when he rolled the bass, I tell you, it sounded so melodious. And I said, "God, if you could give me a bass like my grandfather, I
Wow.
would use it all the days of my life. I would never use it to sing anything else apart from giving you honor and glory."
Wow.
And let me tell you something. I realized that talking naturally, I couldn't, I don't have a
Mhm.
bass voice.
Mhm.
But whenever you give me a microphone, I hold, I can hold all of the deep notes.
Mhm.
But once you give me a microphone, and at age 14, I was the youngest person on a group. Our pastor came named Donovan Tracy. We formed a group that comprised members of different churches in the circuit and outside of the circuit. And I was the youngest one at age 14 singing on that group. And therefore, when I came to Spanish Town, I joined a group named Shalom Choral, and then another one named Channel, and we went all over Central Conference. We were sometimes in West and mostly East Conference and Central Conference, and we were doing a series of concerts called On the Road for Jesus, and that was what took me into the circuit of churches where my wife was a congregant. And I saw this young lady seated around the keyboard. She had on a hat. And I said, "But a young lady in a hat in church, this." So I thought, look,
It was a stylish
it
hat.
was different. I said, But when I look at Anna Hat, I saw a beautiful face. And I said, man, but she looks so lovely. But she, and you know, and after we sang, I asked a friend of mine who sometimes another member of the group who sometimes frequented that community.
Mhm.
Who was this young lady? And he told me who she was and whose um daughter she was. But I didn't know those persons. But it was when we went to the concert. At the end of the concert, I saw this lady came behind stage backstage to us with this young lady, and she said, "Sir, my daughter has fallen in love with your bass, so I have come for her to say hello, and that's it."
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. We're going to leave it right there. We have part two to go. All right. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. We're going to end right there. And then in the part two, we'll continue the conversation.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, everyone. So that was Mr. and Mrs. Gordon, Cass, and Colleen. That we can't wait to hear the rest of the story. I know a little bit of the story, and it is so interesting. So I want you all to come back and listen. Now, before I go, I want to leave a thought as I normally do. And the thought is the best love is the kind that wakens the soul and makes us reach for more, that plants a fire in our hearts and bring peace to our mind. It's Carolyn from Express saying bye bye now until tomorrow.